What would dying on every planet be like?
Guys, we're on Mercury. Ooh, guys, we're on Pluto now. Wow, this is so fun. Guys, we're on Saturn right now. This is actually really cool.
Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, but if you think that means it's hot all the time, you're wrong. At night, temperatures can plummet to an icy minus
it's like the
180 degrees Celsius. During the day, however, they can skyrocket to 430 degrees Celsius.
Because
This
there's no
extreme
atmosphere,
imbalance
guys.
happens because Mercury doesn't have a proper atmosphere to regulate temperature. Instead,
I like
it has
his big
a very
brain.
thin exosphere, which doesn't maintain
I
heat.
am
While apart from
Steve.
temperature, you wouldn't have to worry about weather
Chicken
on Mercury.
jockey.
The real dangers come from solar radiation and the lack of breathable air. In fact, Mercury gets almost 7 times the solar irradiance that Earth receives. As the smallest planet in the solar system, Mercury is full of craters, cliffs, and bumpy terrain, making it a pretty tough place to land as well. The low air resistance doesn't help either. It would make slowing down a spaceship much harder, increasing the chances of a high-speed crash. Landing during the daytime is out of the question because of the extreme heat. The latest NASA spacesuits can only handle up to 121 degrees Celsius. Nowhere
Rookie
near
numbers.
Mercury's daytime temperatures of 430 degrees Celsius.
So essentially what he's saying is that if we could find a way to land on Mercury, you would either turn into a hot pocket or a frozen hot pocket. There's no in between.
What is crazy though is that there are animals out there that can survive in extreme conditions. Have you guys heard of lava sharks?
Or cockroaches?
Okay, lava sharks are definitely not real. What are you talking about? I've heard of water bears, but not lava sharks.
Look it up. Yeah, look it up, Jack.
Dude, that's so cap though. That is so cap.
Plus, keep in mind that Mercury's day lasts about half a year due to its slow rotation.
Wow.
Nighttime isn't much better. Temperatures of minus 180 degrees Celsius far exceed NASA suit's lower limit of minus 157 degrees Celsius, so you'd still freeze. Your best
NASA
bet
has
would
to
be
step
try
up their
landing in
game.
the Terminator zone, the area between day and night where
Sounds like
temperatures
a
are more
bad
moderate.
zone.
Yeah, wait, why would they call it the Terminator zone if it's the only actual habitable spot on the entire planet?
Maybe it's because you get to live the longest there, but you still only get to live like 5 minutes. And it's just like excruciating pain for 5 minutes. But everywhere else you die instantly.
They could have called it the Goldilocks zone. They could have called it heaven or something fun, but it's legit Terminator zone.
Even there, however, it can be risky, as temperatures can change relatively quickly. Venus. Venus is the closest planet to Earth, sitting just 40 million kilometers away. This means the journey there would be relatively short, about 4 months. Its
Oh, that's
size and
it?
gravity
That's actually
wouldn't
not
pose
bad at
much of a
all.
problem, as they're pretty similar to Earth's. The first real issue you'd face, though, would be those beautiful yellow clouds you'd see as you approach
pea
the surface.
clouds.
Unfortunately, they're made of sulfuric acid, a highly corrosive substance that would destroy
What's in
your
your
lungs
pea?
in seconds. But let's assume you've got a spacesuit advanced enough to filter it out. As
we
you
go.
descend to the surface, you'd notice visibility dropping drastically.
Wait a second, why did we just assume that the spacesuit can do that for Venus, but we didn't assume it for Mercury?
Dude, no. Like, we've already invented this, because, like, people that do bed bugs and stuff, when you fumigate the house, they have face masks, so it would be just like that.
But what I'm saying is he brought up NASA's spacesuits, but he didn't bring up a NASA spacesuit that could survive Venus's acid clouds. So does it exist or not?
No, it's because it's obvious that we could. Like, we could invent something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know about those.
I talked to the team. This would be the perfect planet, too, like, to get away with a fart and nobody else knowing.
The atmosphere becomes incredibly
I would
thick,
say that's-
made mostly
nah,
of
I-
carbon dioxide, so you wouldn't be able to see much. Then there's the heat, an unbearable 450
Ooh.
degrees Celsius. If that wasn't enough,
Ooh.
only about
China.
10% of the sunlight reaches the surface, as it's blocked by the thick atmosphere, so it'd be pretty dark. On the
Oh,
surface,
wow.
moving your arms and legs would be a serious struggle. Even though gravity is nearly the same as on Earth, the air is so dense you'd feel like you're wading through a heavy liquid. With a good
Ew.
pressurized suit, you might last a few
Get it
seconds longer,
off!
but before long, the
It's
pressure, about 92 bars compared to Earth's 1 bar at sea level, would
What?
crush your suit. And
Dang, dude, Venus spits bars.
Wait, why is there so much pressure though?
Well, I think that the atmosphere is made up of, they said 96% carbon dioxide, which I guess is heavier than what we're used to here. So it's under, like, basically millions of tons of carbon dioxide pressure that is going to squish you into a tiny little bug.
That's very, very interesting.
It probably feels like the bottom of the ocean, like that type of pressure.
Yeah, you would get crushed like a soda can.
Yeah, but we have technology. Like, what if we just dropped a submarine ship, you know? I'm saying we might be able to survive.
Okay, we'll send you over. We'll see what happens.
acid you'd start breathing once your suit broke definitely would. Mars.
This is what teenagers
Mars
are
is the
smoking.
second closest planet to Earth and the most habitable of all 8 planets. Daytime temperatures are much less extreme
skipped
compared
Earth.
to Mercury and Venus, reaching up to a relatively
Dying on Earth is like every single day somebody dies. You either get old or you vape too much and your lungs give out, or you try to poop and it's too much.
Earth is the most interesting one. You could get hit by a bus, you could get trampled by a deer.
More people die on Earth than any other planet. Just saying.
That is a fact that nobody can refute.
Exactly.
Technically.
Next question.
For once, Adam is right.
a relatively comfortable 20 degrees Celsius. However, the real challenge comes at night, or in certain parts of the planet, where
At
temperatures can drop as
night.
low as minus 153 degrees Celsius.
Ooh,
Another
baby.
big issue, similar to Mercury, is Mars's incredibly thin atmosphere. It's mostly made up of carbon dioxide, with only trace amounts of oxygen,
Dang.
meaning there's not that much breathable air. This thin atmosphere also results in low pressure and high levels of radiation exposure, both of which are incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, but there's an easy solution to that. All we have to do is go plant a ton of trees because they will eat all the carbon dioxide and turn it into oxygen.
Is that what builds
Bada bing,
atmospheres?
bada boom.
In my head, all I'm thinking is like every other planet so far has like a terrible atmosphere. How does Earth have a good atmosphere?
Because we have trees.
So if we just planted trees on Mars, then it would eventually build an atmosphere.
Yeah, we have to terraform the entire planet into trees.
We have to make little bubbles so that the trees can survive, because right now Mars is too harsh of a condition for like any tree to survive. You got to protect it with a bubble.
Yeah, in the beginning, but eventually when we have bubbles all around the planet, then we take off the bubbles and then boom, we're free.
Are you sure? So the entire planet has to be a huge bubble. At that point, you're just building your own atmosphere with the bubble.
Yes, exactly. You're building like mini atmospheres until the majority of the planet is all bubbled up, and then you can release the bubbles.
Just put a bubble around Pluto at that point. It's smaller. Or even the moon.
Mars is smaller than Earth.
But Mars doesn't even have water on it.
I thought they discovered frozen water.
It's called ice,
Well-
you dummy.
All of these reasons are pointing to why we would not be able to survive on Mars and why we're going to die on Mars.
But if there once was water on Mars, there still should be water on Mars, just like inside the planet, you know, like underneath. So maybe there's a way that we can get there.
I don't want to go to Mars.
I hate you, Alex.
You wouldn't go to
Average
Mars for like a
natural
year?
radiation level on
I
Mars
would.
is
Nah.
24
I don't
to
wanna
30
die.
rads, which is about 40 to 50 times the average on Earth. On top of that, Mars experiences frequent and extremely violent dust storms, with wind speeds reaching up to 100 kilometers per
God.
hour. These storms
That
could
sounds
pose
fun.
serious challenges,
Imagine trying to
so
play
any
golf
attempt
there.
at habitation would require a sustainable, airtight, and well-insulated life support system. Jupiter.
You would have to
Jupiter
turn
is
into
the
a
biggest
stormtrooper.
planet out of the 8, and it's one of the hardest planets to land on.
I constantly forget that Jupiter is the next planet after Mars. We're going from one of the smallest planets to a ginormous Giga Chad planet.
It's a fake giant planet, though. Let's be real. Like, it's not actually that big.
Yeah, you could just fall through the center.
Does anyone know why the planets go solid, 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 solid? Gas, gas, gas?
Maybe the solid planets were feeling gassy.
No, but I'm saying it's such a coincidence that it's 4 solids in a row and then 4 gases in a row. I feel like there's got to be something that happens in between Mars and Jupiter that like explodes the planet into being a gas giant, you know?
It definitely has to
Oh,
do
you-
something
wait.
with the distance from the sun.
No,
Has
no,
to
no,
be.
no, no. I think I have a theory. So, you know, like when asteroids come in, they come into the orbit, then they're going towards the sun. But these planets are the furthest away from the sun, so the asteroids are probably hitting these planets, causing a dust storm, which eventually over time caused the whole planet to be gas, because it's like the impact it's causing. Come on, that's a good theory.
You had me in the first half, you lost me in the second.
I have no idea what you were saying, Adam. I literally think that it's because it's hot closer to the sun, and that has something to do with the gases and the solids, and it makes the gases that would be around the closer planets, probably they just get dissipated or they get sucked up into the gravitational pull of the sun.
Well, I'm pretty sure the planets, like every year, get a little teeny tiny bit further away from the sun. Like that's how the way the orbit works. And so like billions of years ago, Jupiter was probably relatively close to the sun. And maybe back then it was a solid planet. And then eventually it blew up into be a gas giant. I'm just saying, it seems like such a peculiar coincidence that I don't have the answers for.
Hold that thought, Alex.
to land on, primarily because of its extreme radiation levels. Even 300,000 kilometers away, the radiation would start penetrating your suit and you'd be done for.
Turn
But
into the
since
Hulk.
that's a boring outcome, let's assume you have a hypothetical suit that can block the radiation.
Yeah.
Jupiter's gravity is 2.4 times stronger than Earth's, meaning you'd be falling
That's actually
incredibly fast.
not
As you
that
enter the
bad.
first layers of the atmosphere, you'd encounter
Alec, you would weigh 700 pounds.
Alec, you already can't jump. So imagine a planet where more gravity's a thing.
No, I'm not saying that it's survivable. What I'm saying is, I thought it'd be more. Like 2.4 times isn't that much, considering Jupiter's like 100 times bigger than Earth. That's
What?
all. You don't have to all jump
It's
on me
math.
like, hey,
Yes, you're an
nice.
idiot.
Alec, but imagine if you are 750 pounds and there's nowhere for you to land and you're just constantly falling towards the center of a giant giant gas cloud.
I disagree with science, and I think that there actually is a solid ball in the middle of Jupiter.
He's a flat earther.
I don't believe that it's just gas. That doesn't make sense in my brain. My brain doesn't understand how that would make any sense at all. There's got to be something in the core. There's no way you can fly straight through it.
Yeah, we'll send you there so you can investigate.
Made of frozen ammonia crystals with temperatures around minus 150 degrees Celsius. The
everything's
winds
so
here are
cold.
no joke, reaching insane speeds of up to 482 kilometers per hour. If you manage to descend about
What?
150 kilometers through these top layers, you'd reach the deepest point ever explored. This is how far NASA's
300?
Galileo probe got back in 1995. Beyond this point,
Whoa.
things start getting darker, and both temperature and pressure increase rapidly. Just as a fun fact, the pressure near Jupiter's center is estimated to be about 100 million times Earth's atmospheric pressure. After hours of falling,
See,
you
that's
might
what
reach
that makes more
Jupiter's inner
sense to
layers,
me.
where you'd encounter a supercritical fluid, a state that's not quite liquid but not gas either. Here, you'd kind of be swimming in
What?
this bizarre substance. If you continued further toward the center, you'd encounter metallic hydrogen, an extremely dense liquid that would trap you. But if you somehow managed to get through that, you'd reach Jupiter's core, though we're not entirely
Whoa,
sure if
you
it's
go
solid or
straight to the
not.
core?
Temperatures here would be about
We have no idea.
24,000
Oh.
degrees Celsius, roughly 4.5 times
Dude,
hotter than the
what?
sun's surface. Saturn.
That's it? So you would just burn. You would fall all the way down and then just cease to exist. Like,
Correct, yeah. I mean, Earth's core is really, really hot, too.
oh, that's... dude,
Supposedly.
That's definitely what hell is.
Supposedly. Realistically, no one actually knows because no one's been there, but it's theorized.
It would make sense because lava come out of ground and lava hot.
Yeah, but that's still on the surface.
Keep it simple, stupid.
That's because all the pressure. That's why.
Saturn is the second
Largest
largest
in the solar
planet.
system, with an atmosphere primarily made of hydrogen and helium. The first challenge would be avoiding a crash with one of its 146 orbiting moons. Once you manage that, you'd encounter its iconic
Saturn's
rings,
such a
which are made
tryhard.
of debris from old moons, ice pellets, comets, and asteroids. Let's assume you're either an incredibly skilled pilot or your spaceship is indestructible, so you don't meet your end by smashing into space junk. As you approach Saturn's equator, you'd witness an incredible spectacle of red and purple auras caused by highly energetic hydrogen in the atmosphere.
Whoa.
However, this beauty comes with a catch. Hurricane-force winds blasting at speeds of around 1,800 kilometers
That would
per
be
hour would
beautiful.
make it nearly impossible to stay steady. Trying to enter from the North Pole wouldn't be any better. Up there, you'd face a massive storm so
What is the wind speed of a tornado? I'm trying to compare, like, what is 1,000 miles
Probably-
per hour?
I know that like over 100 miles per hour in a hurricane is like a category 3 to 4. Does that help you?
It says reaching speeds of 300 miles per hour higher is the most violent tornadoes in the world. And that's 1,000.
That's basically 3.5 times stronger
Oh my god.
than the
Why is
biggest
the-
tornado.
Why is Jupiter wearing a yarmulke?
Jupiter always reminds me of that's
I mean, Saturn.
idiot.
I got you too, though. I did get you a little
Dang
bit. No,
was
but
gonna say-
why is the top of its head blue and it's a hexagon?
Not a
What
head,
the
it's
heck
a
is-
planet. You fool.
Oh, you know what I'm saying though? The top of its the ball,
Because
the
it's
top of the ball.
colder. It's colder
It's
up there.
colder there. dummy.
No, that can't be it.
Those
that
are
doesn't make
icy
sense.
particles.
That
That's
doesn't
literally
make
just
sense.
ice.
What is that?
It's the same thing on Earth, Alec. Earth has an ice cap as well, and an ice bottom.
Why are we taught about Jupiter's like storm ring in school, but we're not taught about Saturn's blue hexagon on the top of its head?
Because no one cares about the blue hexagon on the head. Nobody cares. It's the ring's way cooler.
How does nobody know about that? That is so cool.
People probably know about it.
Saturn's hexagon.
I hope that's a fake picture in Alex.
It's called Saturn's blue cranium.
See, oh, cranium! Ha! Now look, you guys are calling me dummy. Cranium means head for all the dummies out there that don't know what cranium means.
Yeah, you're about to get cranium right now.
Dude, I should go into this stuff. I'm so smart.
Yeah, please go to Saturn.
large, you could fit 2 Earths inside it. This region also has ammonia clouds, similar to Jupiter's, and temperatures that can plummet to a bone-chilling minus
It would be
250
impossible to land.
degrees Celsius. As you fall
Eee.
deeper through the layers of clouds, the temperatures would start to rise again, eventually
Whoa.
reaching 0 degrees
Whoa.
Celsius. At this point,
I could
while
survive.
the cold becomes less of an issue, pressure becomes your biggest enemy. It increases to levels comparable to the deepest parts of Earth's oceans. Continuing
I don't
further,
fold
the
under
gas
pressure.
around you would transition into a liquid state. If you somehow survived long enough to reach the center of Saturn, you'd encounter its molten rocky core, which is about 10 times the size of Earth.
Oh my
Temperatures
gosh.
here reach a scorching
What?
11,700 degrees Celsius, more than
That's
twice
almost as hot as my
the
mom.
sun's surface, with pressure roughly 1,000 times
Not even
greater than
close.
Earth's. Uranus. This is where planets start getting really far from Earth.
Why do you gotta pause like that?
Uranus is one of the 2 ice giants and the only planet in the solar system that spins on its side. It also rotates faster than Earth, with a day lasting just 17 Earth hours. By
pretty
the
cool.
way, being an ice giant doesn't mean the planet is a solid ball of ice. Instead, it means it's primarily composed of elements heavier than hydrogen and helium.
Would that mean with the 17 hours, would that mean that you're like traveling in the future if you stayed on that planet for 10 years? Would it actually be more?
No, it just means that the planet rotates faster than Earth.
But I thought like the body's composition, like if you change the pressure plus like the gravity, it actually changes your age over time.
Adam, your time will stop as soon as you go to Uranus. Uranus will kill you, and time's not gonna matter.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, no, that's
yeah,
actually...
that's yeah.
Saturn. You'd need to avoid crashing into its rings. Once you pass them, you'd find yourself surrounded by toxic gas, and the
We've all
temperature
been
would
there.
drop rapidly to below minus 200 degrees Celsius.
It keeps
This
getting
makes
cold.
it the
Uranus
coldest
and
planet in the
toxic
solar
gas.
system. If the freezing
We're right
cold
next to
and
each other.
poisonous atmosphere didn't get you, you'd descend through the first layer of the atmosphere. Here, things get even worse. The air becomes dense, and you'd be pelted by ice pellets. Eventually, you'd reach something truly spectacular, a rain of diamonds, driven by winds of up to
Whoa.
900 kilometers per hour. But once again,
We could be
there's a
rich.
catch. The pressure here is about 100 times greater than Earth's, which would ultimately
Apparently, there are meteors out there that are made out of diamonds, and then it's worth like trillions and trillions of dollars. More money than the entire Earth's economy. And so NASA wants to send out a space team to mine all the diamonds and come back.
But if they mine all of the diamonds and bring it back, then there's gonna be too many diamonds, and it's gonna ruin the price of diamonds.
No, that's
value's gonna
actually
drop.
true. That's actually true. But, I mean, it still would be a net good. It just wouldn't be as...
What do you even do with diamonds?
Valuable.
It's just you just look at them. They're
If they could find a meteor made of cheeseburgers, I'm in.
I like that way better.
ultimately crush you. Neptune. Neptune is the second ice giant after Uranus, and its composition is very similar. Being the farthest planet from the sun, 30 times farther than Earth, it's incredibly dark. Like Uranus, Neptune is extremely cold in its outer layers, but the inner layers
is
are
fine.
intensely hot due to immense pressure and heat from its core. Matter of fact, its core is about 7,000 degrees Celsius,
Oh,
which
that's
is
it?
hotter than the sun's surface. It also experiences the
How?
famous diamond rain, caused by high pressure breaking down methane and forming solid diamonds. Neptune's winds are among the strongest in the solar system, reaching supersonic speeds. In many ways, it's basically a twin of Uranus, so there isn't much
Nice.
to add. If you liked this video, subscribe.
Where's Pluto?
Pluto's not a planet, dude.
Justice
Come
for
on, you are
Pluto,
such a
guys.
noob.
Justice for Pluto. On Pluto, you would freeze instantly, you would suffocate, and you would die.
Well, if you guys enjoyed that video and want to see more just like it, then click right here.